Out front now, Nadya Tolokonnikova. She is a Russian activist and member of Pussy Riot who was jailed for 21 months in Russia for criticizing Putin. They called it hooliganism. Russia recently opened another criminal trial against her, another case in response to an art show that included burning a portrait of Putin. So, Nadya, I really appreciate your time. And, you know, you hear some of these Russian women in that report that we just played saying, one of them says, I support President Putin. He does everything right. Good man. We love him. Is this the view of most Russians even now?
I highly doubt it. It's really difficult to measure what the public actually thinks about Putin because it's incredibly costly to criticize him. We see a lot of dozens of political prisoners in Russia, and they're appearing every day. People are getting 8 years for pushing like button on Instagram. And it makes it incredibly dangerous for people to say something against Putin. There was a case recently where a 11-year-old girl made a drawing with the Ukrainian flag, and she's currently in foster care, and her dad is under arrest.
Foster care and her father under arrest.
Exactly.
11 years old.
11 years old.
It's terrifying. I mean, that brings it home. You know, because you spent almost 2 years in a Russian prison, what happens when you cross Putin in any way.
Yeah.
What risks are people taking now? Speak out.
They can be arrested. Their family members can be arrested. They can be murdered as Boris Nemtsov or to other friends of mine who died because they were criticizing Putin and his regime. It's not something that I would advise people to do, to go openly against the war of Vladimir Putin, or at least if they are in Russia currently. They can make this choice for themselves, but I wouldn't advise it because I don't think it's worth to risk your life and life of your relatives. That's why whenever Russians are being criticized for not doing enough, I feel for them because a lot of people I know, they have to stay in Russia. They don't have voice. They simply cannot speak out against the regime because it became just incredibly dangerous. And they also cannot leave the country because not everyone is privileged enough to be able to leave the country and start a new life somewhere else.
How bad is it being in prison in Russia? I mean, you sit here, you spent 21 months away from a child that you had, and you had to serve that time. It's
really a hell on earth, especially when you're being moved to the penal colony, where you have to work by law. You have to work, and it's practically slave labor. Luckily, I was able to fight against the system, and years later, after I got out of jail, my prison boss, ex-prison boss, was sentenced for organizing a system of slave labor in a penal colony where I served my time. I was forced to sew police uniforms and military uniforms. So these days, people who oppose Putin and who say something against the war, they're being sent to colonies to produce military uniforms.
It's an incredible irony, horrible irony. I know you just hosted a benefit auction at Sotheby's. It was called My Body, My Business, right? And it's Pussy Riot. You have been, right, it's performance, it's punk, but it's also art. And this has been crucial to you. The auction is in honor of International Women's Day, benefiting reproductive organizations worldwide. So Putin today, he spoke about International Women's Day, actually came out and spoke, and I wanted to play for you part of what he said the holiday means to Russia.
It is always filled with special warmth and meaning, with the most kind, joyful, and sincere feelings, because this reverence and respect towards women and motherhood is an unconditional value for us, something we have been passing on from generation to generation.
That was today.
Such a clown.
That's really all there is to say.
Pretty much.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time and
Thank
talking
you.
to me. And you know, you say what you have to say. Sometimes you only need a couple of words to say something when it's what you feel, and it says it all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Nadya.